Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are diving straight into the terrifying psychological journey of high-stakes industrial espionage. We see it in movies all the time, right? Sleek gadgets, fast cars, the whole James Bond treatment. But the reality we're pulling from today's source material, it's way more psychological, and honestly, a lot darker. We're going to trace the exact descent of a corporate spy, mapping out how someone goes from just a regular cubicle worker to an international criminal who is completely trapped in a web of their own making. It's a fascinating look at a very shadowy world. So let's get right to it. Picture this. You've just pulled it off. You've successfully stolen the formula for a solid-state battery. We're talking $4 billion with a B. That's what that formula is worth to the competition. You've expertly navigated the ones and zeros of corporate security, and now you're sitting in this gorgeous glass-walled condo, sipping a drink that costs more than your first car. For a fleeting second, you literally feel like the smartest person on the planet. You found the software glitches in a trillion-dollar empire, and you turn them into your own personal jackpot. You've won the game, right? But then, reality hits hard. You're looking out the window, watching the sunset, and you spot a car parked across the street, and it hasn't moved for 3 hours. In an absolute instant, the high of the heist completely evaporates. You realize that while you were busy stealing incredible secrets, you weren't just becoming a master thief. Actually, scratch that. You realize you are what the source material calls a very, very expensive loose end. You've turned yourself into a massive liability to the exact people you work for. All right, so how does this happen? Let's look at section 1, from boredom to asset. Because this whole dark path, it doesn't actually kick off with the glamorous, high-octane thrill ride you might expect. There are no laser grids or helicopter chases at the start of this journey. Believe it or not, it begins with sheer, crushing boredom at a regular desk job. It starts with what our source calls the 80-hour trap. Imagine, you're a brilliant coder or maybe a top-tier CPA, right? It's just a rainy Tuesday and it suddenly dawns on you that working in quote-unquote honest 80-hour week in a gray cubicle is just an incredibly slow, exhausting way to pay off a mortgage you'll never actually own. You realize you are an absolute magician with data, and the corporate world is really just a numbers game. So what do? Well, you start small. It begins by just playing that numbers game to outsmart the system. Maybe you just happen to spot a tiny rounding error in a rival's patent filing. Or hey, maybe you discover a subtle little loophole in a massive corporate merger. You tug at that thread, exploiting minor software glitches in a trillion-dollar empire, and man, the rush that gives you, it is infinitely stronger than any end-of-year bonus. Literally, in a split second, you've upgraded yourself from a completely disposable employee to a totally invaluable asset. Which brings us to section 2, mastering corporate accounting gymnastics. Now, in this phase, the dynamic completely shifts. You stop being a solo act playing a clever game, and you become a highly specialized cog in a massive, illicit machine. And this layout right here brilliantly illustrates how you escalate. Starting out at the entry level, you're basically considered furniture to the big players. You provide the invisible labor, fetching data, scrubbing digital footprints, and taking on almost all the risk. Meanwhile, the bosses stay perfectly safe behind those glass walls we talked about. But if you prove you can keep your mouth shut and get the job done, you move up. You get promoted to the real game, eventually becoming a strategic consigliere, entirely removed from the physical risk, pulling the strings from the top. But here's the catch. Surviving that promotion requires a very specific set of skills. You have to prove you can pull off what the source perfectly describes as extreme accounting gymnastics. It's way past just hacking a server or finding a glitch now. It's about taking vast sums of illicit money and making them completely disappear into the global financial system. Let's actually map out this money trail. Step 1, you start by setting up empty boxes. We're talking like 8 different LLCs in places like Wyoming and Delaware. Then, step 2, you make those so-called earnings dance through international accounts over in Cyprus. By the time that money hits Panama in step 3, it is a total ghost. I mean, completely invisible to the federal investigators and your corporate competition. It's a brilliantly structured, rock-solid system of obfuscation. Okay, moving on to section 3, trapped in a golden cage. So you've hit the peak of your career. You've got the money, you've got the title, but your day-to-day existence just evolves into a 24/7 simulation of pure paranoia. Because at this elite level, you aren't really stealing files anymore. Your entire existence revolves around this concept of insulation. Your primary, literal job is to completely detach the top bosses, the quote-unquote supreme bosses, from the criminal acts being committed. You are the buffer. You are the human wall between the crime and the people who actually ordered it. Just look at the tools it takes just to get through a single day. You have to constantly hide your location by using digital masks like Tor, bouncing your signals from France to Brazil to Japan, just to turn yourself into a moving target. You have to know exactly which associates at the patent office can be bribed. And honestly, the craziest part? You always keep a go bag shoved under your bed with 6 different passports, each with a completely plausible new identity. Why? Because you know the golden rule of this business. Your family doesn't get to retire. So the true cost of all this power is absolute, terrifying isolation. You are living in a golden cage. Extreme wealth? For sure. But your paranoia makes you a total prisoner. You start looking at your best friend and assuming there's someone the competition can lean on. You never, ever sit with your back to the door in a restaurant. You check your car for trackers every single morning. Any new vehicle parked on your street is a potential government trace. You've spent so long building perfect, untouchable lives for the elite that you've effectively erased your own. Which leads us to the most chilling realization of this entire explainer. Because you are the insulation. You are literally the only person alive who can connect the Supreme Boss directly to the crimes. And since you're the only link, you suddenly realize you are their greatest threat. You are the single biggest liability in their entire empire. So ultimately, your free will is just gone. You might have been the absolute magician of the boardroom orchestrating billion-dollar heists, but the source nails it right here. You're still a prisoner of the secrets you keep. You are no longer in control. At the end of the day, you're just a number being moved to a different column on someone else's spreadsheet. It's a pretty heavy price for a glass-walled condo, isn't it? So I want to leave you with this final thought, and definitely let me know your answer in the comments below. If you were the king of corporate secrets, what's the first rounding error you'd fix? Thanks so much for joining me as we wrap up today's explainer on the hidden, terrifying costs of extreme corporate power. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.